Football Sunday with Steve, Matt, and Tad.
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of College Football Sunday. I'm Steve, and it's just me, everybody. So everybody else has some prior engagements and stuff that they had to take care of this evening. So I just wanted to make sure I gave y'all some good stuff to listen to and to watch and follow with us. So before we even get started, as y'all can see it on the screen, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow. Make sure to download this whenever we get done. Like I said, this doesn't hurt anybody or do anything. It just helps us out. Let you know whenever we drop new stuff like this and when we have new things coming out and everything. All right. So we got a lot to talk about, or I got a lot to talk about with y'all tonight. We're going to go over the Suwannee Tiger football team. So a lot of y'all probably don't know who that is. Was an original SEC school, and we'll dig into that. I'm also going to give my final analysis and discussion about the Brandon Sorsby incident. Now that it's all put to bed, I'm ready to move on from it like everybody else. I also have a topic I wanted to talk about is the SEC and Greg Sankey losing his power. It's something we all really need to start thinking about this point in this time as we are. Also, we have a Who You Got, where we talk about Penn State White Out and a night game in Baton Rouge. So both of them really intense. Would really like to know who y'all got and what y'all think on that. Rolling El Solo this evening. I'm going to pass on the fancy bracket. I don't think it's fair that if I get to make the decision on who advances. So with all that, we also have 3 rivalry trophies coming up on this episode. Some 3 trophies that y'all might not know too much about or heard much about. And then we'll wrap this thing up. And then I'll also talk to you about why and what I meant when we postponed the last episode. So that way we was working on some stuff. So some really good stuff I'm going to tell y'all about at the end of the show. So be sure to stay tuned and stay in tune with us to hear what we got going on. So first thing I want to kick it off is with the Brandon Sorsby thing. So as everybody knows, I was very, very vocal one way on the whole situation. I stand firm still to this day. I do. And I was a little critical of Texas Tech and everything on how they was handling it and what they was doing and everything like that. But like a man of my word, they have done the right thing. They have. And when they do, you have to address that and acknowledge that as well. So with him, he's going to end up entering the supplemental draft. He is. And I think that was the best thing for him before and now. I do. Like I said, with betting on sports, that's just something that you cannot do. I mean, it questions the integrity of the game and everything else. And I understand Texas Tech's point of view because it's your team. So if it's your team, you are going to support it. I mean, as we all sit here and talk about it, still what he did, I don't agree with. It's a lot different, like I said, if it's happening to your team. And so they did the right thing, and they had to sit down and talk and decide that it was best that if he went ahead and moved on. And the reason why that is, and don't let everybody get it twisted, the reason why they decided for him to move on was because earlier that morning, Big 12 said, all right, well, we're going to go ahead and file a federal lawsuit because Texas Tech is saying that we can't enforce our own bylaws, which are rules and laws that all schools agreed upon, and it's part of the First Amendment. So what ended up happening was that the Attorney General in Texas came out and said, well, hey, the Big 12, they can't do that. There's no way that they can do that. If they do that, we're going to sue them and this, that, and the other. So then, of course, great, as you can see behind me, Oklahoma and Texas. Oklahoma Attorney General comes out and says, well, that's a bunch of mess. And they ain't got a leg to stand on. And if they think that's what they're going to do, then they're going to lose in court. So what it was turning out to be was there was going to be a lot of backlash and there were going to be suspensions, but it was also had an opportunity to where they could ban them from postseason games. They can give them scholarship bans. They can cut into their revenue sharing, which would mean the boosters would have to pay more money they cut into the revenue sharing, which I don't think the revenue sharing covers anything nowadays anyways, but besides the point. And they could end up making them in postseason bans. Well, amongst all that, it's going to cost the university millions upon millions of dollars. So, with all that being said, the last thing you want to do as a university is to have where all of a sudden this kid that you're paying $5 million to is going to end up costing you 20, 40, 60, $100 million. I remind everybody that this kid never played a snap at Texas Tech. He ain't a returning starter or none of that. What he did was wrong, and they know he was wrong. And I think the people that was put in the hardest position was Joey McGuire, because that is his player that he has. And I think it's a really hard spot to put a head coach in, because in doing a situation like that, what do? You know what's right, but you also do have the boosters who does pay the coaches checks, as everybody should know. It's not the school that pays for these coaches $1 million salaries, it's the boosters. So your biggest booster just paid this kid $5 million. And the worst thing that could have happened, and I think what got all this out of hand towards the end, was the whole big 25-minute round table thing that they had with the AD, the president, Joey McGuire, some mental health guy, and all that coming on there, and trying to get all of us to like them or agree with them or understand what they're talking about. And that just wasn't going to happen. I mean, it really wasn't. Whoever their PR department is, and then maybe again, the PR department told them best thing to do in some situations, say less, as everybody says. Just say less. Less is best in a situation like that, because you're not going to convince nobody. You're not going to get them to want to see your way. And maybe the PR department told them, hey, y'all, this ain't a good idea. You shouldn't do that. You're going to get way more backlash than what you're expecting. And I don't think they quite thought it would happen like that. Or maybe the PR department told them, hey, this is what you need to do. Try to get it out there in front of everybody. So whoever made that decision, I think, made a horrible decision. And I don't know what they're going to do with them. But besides that, like I said, Texas Tech did the right thing. What they end up doing was they end up letting Sorsby keep the $5 million, which, I mean, I guess is a small price to pay. If he can cost you hundreds of millions of dollars in losses, giving him $5 million and walking away from it, then, I mean, that's the best thing. So he'll go to supplemental draft. We'll see what happens there and see if he gets drafted and picked up. He still has to be. So he actually ended up dropping his lawsuit against the NCAA, or his injunction that he had against them. So that way he could be deemed ineligible. So that way he could qualify for the supplemental draft. Well, you would think, okay, everything put to the side, everything's good. Well, one thing is the Big 12 said, hold on a second. We're not going to drop ours just yet, because we need to see what happens with this. Because who's to say? Nobody really knows. But what if he doesn't get taken in the supplemental draft, and then he tries to file another injunction, and then we turn around and he gets deemed eligible, and the Big 12 already removed theirs? They would have to go through the steps again. So right now the Big 12 is holding on to wait to see what happens with him, just to make sure that when he does, then they can drop their lawsuit that they have. So just keep an eye on that. With that, like I said, he'll end up going to the supplemental draft, which is probably the best thing for him. And the Big 12 is holding on, and they're actually talking about maybe seeing and having Texas Tech responsible for all these court costs, because they don't believe that the other members of the Big 12 should be liable for the fees and court costs and lawyers and all that. Now, when the Big 12 got some lawyers, they got some big time lawyers. Now, the lawyers they end up getting have represented presidents, vice presidents, like big people. So they pretty much knew they wasn't going to win this, and the Big 12 was going to win. So once again, just like the whole thing that he went to rehab because he got caught, I think we can all agree upon that, is the same reason why he entered the supplemental draft. because the Big 12 was going to win. So that's my final thought on it. I do give props to Texas Tech for doing the right thing and letting him go off to the supplemental draft. And now they can move on. And hopefully we all can move on. And hopefully we don't have another story like this in our sport. Our sport's too great and too good for us to be wrapped around. As you can tell, I've already wasted 10 minutes more of my life on this to get to talk about it. So now it's put to bed. Unless he don't get picked up in the supplemental draft, and then he tries to come back, and then the Big 12 goes back at it, and then we're right back at square one, and we'll see what the hell happens. So, so like I said, that's my topic on that, and my final say on Brendan Sorsby. We're going to move on to the next topic that I got here. It's a really, really good one, and it is the Suwannee Tiger football team. Now, this was an original SEC school in 1932 to 1940. They end up getting knocked out of the SEC due to competition-wise, and they really wasn't playing that well. But during the 1890s, they was one of the Big South or the Deep South's premier football squads. Like, this team was unbelievable. The 1899 team was voted by the Hall of Fame in 2012 as the greatest team of all time. And once I start to give y'all a little rundown on some of these numbers, you're going to see why. Oh, and this happened on this year in the 1899. It's so hard to keep track of these numbers because it's the 1800s. So with this team, they end up going 12-0 with 11 shutouts. They did 12 wins, 11 shutouts. We've had plenty of teams go 12-0 along the way in the years since 1899. It's probably an ungodly number of teams that's gone that 12-0. None of them's had 11 of those shutouts. 11 shutouts. Think about that. Think how hard it is right now just to shut out a team. And this team did it 11 times out of 12 games. And that ain't even the most craziest stat of this team in this year. Along the way, they outscored their opponents 322 points to 10. 10. So the one game they gave up points, they gave up 10 points. This right here, y'all, is the craziest and most wildest stat I've ever seen in my life. Was they had, well, before I get to that, I know y'all saw my video before asking the question about, me and my Georgia Tech friend have a Piedmont Park thing going on. So the only team was, and this started this 12-0 season, the greatest season of all time. The 1899 Suwannee Tigers was the first team to beat Georgia and Georgia Tech at Piedmont Park. Yep, the infamous Piedmont Park, everybody. And they beat Georgia 12-0. And then they turned around 2 days later. 2 days later, and they beat them in October 11th. October 13th, they turned around, they beat Georgia Tech 32-0. Started out 2-0 the season, back-to-back wins in Piedmont Park. Suwannee Tigers can do it. They can handle it. They can win it there at Piedmont Park. So that's the answer to the little trivia question that I popped up for y'all in my little pop-up video. Now, the most outstanding stat of them all was they had 5 shutouts in 6 days. 6 days. 5 wins, 5 shutouts in 6 days, every game on the road. 5 shutouts on the road in a row, a 2,500-mile round trip in 6 days. 2,500 miles. That's a lot of miles just to travel, let alone play football in between. By train. I mean, it's 1899. I mean, that's pretty much the only way they traveled was by train. And to top it all off, they only had 21 players. I mean, they didn't even have a full 22. They did it. They had 21 players they took on this trip to go in 6 days to knock off. And now, and you hear this, you're like, oh, well, they probably didn't play nobody worth a damn. I mean, how you get 5 shutouts in 6 days and you playing big-time football? Yeah, they beat some good teams, y'all. They really did. So, November 9th, let me run you by it. November 9th, They go to Austin. Now, Suwannee's in Tennessee, for anybody who doesn't know. So, Tennessee to Austin is a pretty nice little ride. So, November 9th, they go to Austin and play Texas. They beat them 12-0. What they do? We're going to hop on the train. Now we're going November 10th. Now we're going to Houston, and we're going to play Texas A&M in Houston. What do? Turn around, beat them 10-0. What do? We're getting back on the train again. Turn around, next day, go to Houston to New Orleans. Let's head over to the Big N.O. New Orleans. Love New Orleans. My home away from home. They go out there, beat Tulane 23-0. 23-0. All right, they say, you know what? New Orleans is a little bit fun out here now. I love the N.O. Let's take a little bit of time. We get to Baton Rouge on the 13th. So we got the 12th. Man, that's our 1 day off, the 12th. Go to Baton Rouge, play LSU in Baton Rouge. Now, y'all know that's a hard place to play, a really tough place to play there. It is. And what they go off and do, and they go off and beat LSU 34-0. 34-0. So now they say, all right, y'all, we got to head back to the house. We got to get back close to home, but we ain't done yet. So they hop on the train to go to Baton Rouge. Or from Baton Rouge, they head out to Memphis. Memphis to go out there. I don't know why the hell they played Ole Miss in Memphis, but they played Ole Miss in Memphis. I guess Memphis wanted some good barbecue. I mean, they've always had good barbecue. Probably sure they did in 1899. They go ahead and hop on the train, head over there to Memphis, take on Ole Miss. What they do, Ole Miss? Shoot, 12-0. Beat them again. Now we got the little trip from Memphis to Suwannee, and that's one of the greatest runs of all time right there, y'all. 5 shutouts, 6 days, 2,500 miles by the train. You notice all they heard was the horn. Let's go. So, I mean, then they turn around. That's November 14th. They played another game or so. The game against Vanderbilt got canceled. It did. So, but then they end up playing Auburn on Thanksgiving. They do. And this is the one game they gave up points that whole year was the Auburn. And believe it or not, they only won 11-10. So as great as this year was, they were real close to end up ruining it and it all going to a bust against this game on Thanksgiving against Auburn. They played them in Montgomery. So they were back on the road again. Auburn was coached by somebody that I'm sure everybody's pretty familiar with, especially as a college football fan. Their head coach at the time was Mr. John Heisman. Yeah, that guy. The guy that named the trophy after? Yep, that's the guy. That was the head coach. Believe it or not, Auburn played against Suwannee in Montgomery, and they jumped out early, y'all. They got on them quick. They jumped out 10-0. They did. And next thing you know, you're like, man, you know they was on the sideline like, you got to be kidding me. We ain't gave up no points all year. Now we're down 10-0. All right, well, I guess one thing they know is, hey, we're good for it. We know we can come back. We know we can score. We know we can make some points. So Suwannee goes down, gets a 10-yard touchdown, cuts it 10-5. Like I said, I'm not quite sure how they scored the rules back then in 1899. Something I'll have to look up. I guess I could have. Auburn has the ball back, and now you're like, okay, well, they might end up. This is still the first half now. The only points that were scored in the first half. There was a controversial fumble, y'all. Now, was it the refs? I don't know. But everybody know what kind of run Suwannee was on, and they kind of wanted to give him the little extra boot. It was a controversial fumble. Auburn swears up and down they recovered that ball. But Suwannee got rewarded the ball. Next thing you know, they throw a double pass. A double pass, y'all. 1899, they're out here doing double passes. What is it? Touchdown. Made the extra point. They go up 11-10. Now that 10-0 lead has been squandered away by Auburn. This Suwannee has fought back to go up 11-10, and then they go into the half. So second half rolls around. Now this is where it gets entertaining and interesting. Is once the second half rolls around, y'all, they were playing in about mid-afternoon whenever they started playing. Second half rolls around. Well, you got to remember back then they didn't really have stands. I mean, people just kind of showed up to the game, you know. I mean, it really wasn't much going on and everything. So as they're all out there, they're constantly having to get the fans off the field. Like, these people are just wandering around the field like lost cows. You know what I'm saying? Like, and they're like, "Hey, come on, get out the field." So this drags and drags and drags the second half along, to where we're only 14 minutes into the second half. Hell, I remember 1899. There ain't no lights. There isn't. So it ain't like, all right, we're gonna turn the lights on. We're gonna keep playing. Get these damn people off the field. We got ball game to play. No, we can't do that. It's 1899. We don't have no lights. So what they end up doing, the refs have to call it, and Suwannee ends up winning 11-10 and pulls off the victory. Now ain't that something? That's something crazy right there. So overall, like I said, 12-0. They was 11 shutouts. The one game that they might have could have lost against Auburn, kind of controversial, but kind of controversial at the beginning too. John Heisman had him stow handles. Now remember, this is like rugby style football back then, so he had them sew handles into the pants to where they could grip on and they could move the ball. Well, Suwannee raised hell about it and told the refs, "Hey, they need to cut those. Those ain't legal. You can't do that. Man, it's 1899. You pretty much do whatever the hell you want it." So the refs agreed with them, and they was like, "Okay, yeah, you know what? We're gonna cut them things off. We can't be having all that going on." You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, Suwannee football, for all y'all that don't know, one of the first SEC schools, one of the greatest teams, if not the greatest team. And I'm a huge 01 Miami team and 05 USC, probably a 1990 something Nebraska, Oklahoma in the 70s and the 50s. You can make an argument as well. But nobody had 11 shutouts. Nobody went on the road 5 straight games in 6 days. And the reason they did that was because of the Vanderbilt game. Because something with the tickets, they was kind of being a little shady or cutting corners or something like that. And they said, hell, y'all, we got to make the most money we can in the least amount of time to cut down on cost. It took 21 players on the road on the train and dominated. You say what you want, time, error, it don't matter. I don't see nothing like that ever happening again. Nothing like that ever will happen again. And nothing like that has happened before that. So great shout out to the Suwannee football team. Now they're a D3 school. Right now they are. They still play football there. It's so crazy. You go back, you look at the field and all that. And just to think that this was one of the first SEC schools and everything. And like I said, one of the powerhouses of the Deep South back in the late 1800s when football was first evolving and coming around. So really interesting. And there's more about them. If y'all don't know, look them up. Try to, dig into it, learn the history of the game. It's so much fun and interesting and stuff like that. So the next thing I want to get to was another strong topic, and I really wish everybody was here for this because this is the one I wanted to get everybody's opinion on. Is the SEC and Greg Sankey losing power? I'll pause. Tell me what you think. Comment below. Sankey to me feels like he's holding on. You look at it that, remember, Petiti wanted the SEC to go to 9 conference games, and the SEC fought it forever. They're like, no, we're playing 8. We're playing 8 conference games. We're not playing 9. Not with the current college football playoff format. So him and Petiti are talking. Petiti's like, hey, man, we played 9. Big 12 plays 9. ACC about to go play 9. Well, some of them played 9. Some are going to play 8, which is so damn stupid. And I have a solution for that, which I'll talk about when we do our preview show. And I'll ask Jim Phillips about that too. Okay, yeah, go to 9. We'll expand the playoff. Cool. They're like, all right, bet. Sankey comes out. He said, all right, guys, 9 conference games. Bigger games will have meaning, but we'll get the benefit of the doubt because we're gonna play this extra game. I don't know what y'all been hearing about postseason expansion, but looks like we're gonna be stuck at 12 teams again. Sankey wants 16 because he wants to hold on to the SEC championship game. Petiti has found a way to work his way to getting all the other conferences and everything to agree upon wanting to go to 24, which is what he wants. Now, to me, this is a big, big power move. It is. One, Sankey cannot afford to lose this argument. By no means. Look at the Big Ten versus the SEC. Let's just look at that. Big Ten's won 3 straight national championships. Now, everybody says that's a short sample size, and I get that. And it is 3 years. That's, in the grand scheme of things, it's not much. But also, everybody remembers how the SEC was pounding their chest whenever they won all theirs in a row. So I get it. You're winning, pound your chest, whatever. Well, the last 3 years in the playoff, the college football playoff, the Michigan year, and the last 2 12-team playoffs, the SEC is actually 0-5 versus the Big Ten. So that's not a good look. In bowl games in 2025, they're 0-3 versus the Big Ten. And in bowl games in 2024, including the playoff, they're 1-5. So they're 1-8 in the last 2 years. And if you put that with the bowls from the others, they're 1-4 outside of playoff against the Big Ten. Now everybody says bowl games don't mean nothing anymore, whatever. They still laced them up, they still played on the field. So with that being said, I think Sankey got played. Now, Sankey, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. Ask Larry Scott about a guy named Kevin Warren. Kevin Warren was in the Big Ten. Remember, he tried to make that whole alliance thing, and where we'll play each other so the SEC won't expand and do all this. And all the time he was backdooring, talking to USC and UCLA on the back end, trying to pull them to the Big Ten, knowing that the TV deal was a mess with the Pac-12, and they kind of did it. So Big 12 been known to hustle and backdoor deals. So like I said, with Sankey in this situation, he has to hold strong at 16. Because if he loses this one, what leg does he have to stand on? I mean, think about it. You don't have the lead in championships here recently. You haven't had the on-field success against that conference. They already hustled you into playing 9 games. Now, why they want to do that? Let's keep it at 12. You played 9, which will give you more losses. We'll have less, and now the Big Ten gets more teams in the playoff than the SEC. What does that turn into? More revenue. It's all driven by money. It's chess, not checkers. Trust me, especially in this situation with playoff expansion and all that. This is another reason why when people talking about breaking away and doing their own thing and all that, I don't see that happening, because for it to happen, it's going to have to be both. It's going to have to be Sankey. It's going to have to be Petiti with the SEC and the Big Ten. Now, do you really think Sankey wants to do deals with this guy right now with everything that's been going on? I mean, Petiti's walking in those rooms that, like, his opinion is the one that matters because he's got it on the field. He has it in the support. I mean, the Big Ten or the Big 12, the ACC, the Group of 5 schools, Notre Dame are all on board for 24. The only one that wants 16 is Sankey. And now with the 9th playoff game, they don't even have every conference that came out during spring media time came out and was at full unity on whatever decision it was. So the ACC came out and said we support 24 teams. The whole ACC came out and said we support 24 teams. Big 10, we all support it. Big 12, we all support it. SEC, we like 16. We like 24. There's not even a unity on how many teams within the own conference that they want to play off. Now, I'm not saying Sankey going to lose his job or nothing like that, or the SEC don't matter, because it still does. It's still a great conference, and he's still a great leader. All I'm saying is I feel there's a shift of power, and I don't think nobody's really talking about that. They're not, but it's something to look out for. And like I say, if he actually loses this discussion and ends up going to 24 instead of 16, because Petiti's came out and said, if it ain't 24, we're sticking to 12. So he's dug his heels in the sand. And that's where he's at. He's standing 10 toes down on 24. Now, I don't know what 24 entails. I don't know if that means that there's playing games since there isn't net conference championship games. I don't know what the bracket would look like. We don't really know the details of it. We just kind of know where everybody stands on it. No one's really broken it down. And they continue to meet and have meetings and all that they do about everything. So I'm just keeping an eye on it, like I said. And then this is another thing with the whole court thing, bill to save college sports. The Big Ten and the SEC, that's something they can agree on, is that they both think that some things need to be changed and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. But in the same sense, that bill can get passed without them liking it. So, like I said, it's going to be real interesting. I think this last power shift move is going to be the playoff. And if it goes to 24, I think we got to say that Petitti is the most powerful commissioner in college sports. I mean, the proof's there. It is. So that's something I want to talk to y'all about. Send a comment, like, or whatever. Let me know what y'all think. Before we move on to the next one, I'm trying to get better at this. So be sure to do just like the screen says. Like, subscribe, follow, download. I know you think you might have already, but I'm pretty sure you might not have. So just double check for me. Check it out. Click the button. Don't take but 2 seconds. Don't hurt nothing. And it's good to go and it's smooth to go. So give me 1 second. Yeah, see, I got to drink in between talking because I don't have nobody to pass the mic over to tonight. So, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead, and now we got the next part of the show that I really like, and it's going to be on Who Do You Got? So here it is. And I do not own the rights to these photos, so do not sue me. So who do you have? Who do you got? A night game at LSU or a whiteout at Penn State? Now, this is some tough business right here. Me personally, I haven't been to either one, so all I can do is talk about what I've heard. I haven't truly experienced either one of them yet, but this year, College Football Sunday, we'll be heading to a night game. Well, we're going to the LSU Texas A&M game. It's a flex game, which aggravates the hell out of me. Either call the afternoon or call the night, but pretty sure both of them might be doing pretty well by the time that game rolls around. So I'm fingers crossed it starts as a night game. Even an afternoon game, when it is, it'll be dark by the end, but that's not the same. I want opening kickoff. As you can see in that top photo, when the lights come on, it's pitch black, it's dark, it's a night game. They got Mike the Tiger over there. So hopefully we'll get to experience that night game, and they'll call it a night game this year. Penn State White Out. I've been wanting to go to one of them. They only do one a year. They don't really announce it until every so often, till right before it. I think this year it might be USC, I believe, goes there. I think that might be the Whiteout game. Big Ten plays a lot of noon games. They like to play their good games on Big Noon Kickoff with Fox, with my boy Gus, which I love listening to. I do. One of the last few true play callers out there that I love to watch on TV, my boy Gus. So let me go on and break this down for y'all a little bit. So with the Penn State Whiteout, Penn State Stadium, Beaver Stadium, holds 106,304 people. Now that just in itself, the way it's built, you hear, like, go watch the video of the intro at a Penn State Whiteout. I mean, it is insane. They've played a couple during the day, which don't really have the same effect. It's just something about night games, y'all. Just night games just liven it up. The energy, you can feel it. The people in the crowd and in the stadium, they've been drinking all day and they're getting crazy and loud, and it's just the energy in the night game is just something else. I'm telling you. I mean, if the night game is the best way to go. I've learned in my travels, in my games, that if you go to a noon game, you might catch the late night game. You gotta get up early. 3:30 games, the most ideal game. You ain't gotta get up early. You ain't gonna be out too late, but you're gonna miss football all day because you gotta watch it before and you gotta be there after. Night game, you might catch some of the noon games. When you get there, it's gonna be a late night. It's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be insane. So if you got to pick any of the three, I prefer the night game. I do, just because you're pretty much going to miss football that day anyways. So you might as well enjoy the night game out of all of it. So with this whiteout, everybody wants to know when it started. It's really fairly new. I mean, it started in 2002, and it started with just the student section. So what it was Nebraska had a good team, number 7 team in the country, and they were coming into Penn State. Penn State, they were doing okay in 2002. So they were really scared that, okay, we got this Red Sea, is what they called it, that was going to come through Penn State that day for the game. So what they ended up doing, believe it or not, was called Operation Visine. Now that ain't, I mean, get the redness out, right? I mean, makes sense. So so they had the student section was the main spot where they had just wore the white out and all that. And what they ended up doing, they ended up beating the brakes off Nebraska that day. They beat them 40-70 and upset the number 17. Now, it wasn't until 2007 when they officially did the entire stadium do the whiteout. They did. And that was against Notre Dame. It was. And that was pretty insane with that whole situation right there, because it had never been done before in the whole stadium. So going into that Notre Dame game, they said, let's white out the whole stadium. They actually have, and Penn State ended up winning that one as well. They did. So they actually have, what's crazy is in 2020, they didn't have a whiteout game, but they said in the bookstore they sold whiteout shirts 2020. So if you go on eBay, if you go anywhere like that, you can see if you can find something like that. That's a pretty nostalgic piece of Penn State history and everything like that, because they didn't end up having one like that. Now, believe it or not, through all this and all the excitement and all the fun and all the craziness and all the energy, like just watching the intro at a Penn State whiteout, you can feel the energy through the TV. Like, it's insane. It is. And believe it or not, Penn State is only 13-9 in whiteout games, which blew my mind when I looked that stat up, because I thought for sure, I was like, okay, they're going to win 75% of their games. I mean, just the ones when you think of is the ones they end up winning, like when they had the block kick against Ohio State, and then the guy ended up taking it back. They ended up, I think, Urban Meyer, they were number 1, number 2 in the country that year. You remember that game? That was like kind of the big game. The playoff game against SMU last year in the first round, or not last year, the year before, against SMU was a whiteout. It was a noon game or a 3:30. No, it was a noon game, I want to believe. But it was a whiteout, so it was a day game. So does it really count? I'll say this. I wouldn't be happy if I went to a whiteout game and it was a noon kickoff. I wouldn't. Now, here's the crazy part. You would think, okay, we get all this energy, we get all this enthusiasm in all these games. Like I said, they play a lot of games during the day up in the Big Ten. They do, because of Fox and their deal and all that and whatever. But did you know that they can only have one whiteout game a year because of the hockey team, Winnipeg? Winnipeg actually calls their games whiteout games for their home games. And because of that, how this works blows my mind, because I'd be like, the hell with y'all. We play football, you play hockey. You don't own the rights to what our fans wear every game. You know what I'm saying? But for some reason, that the only time they can do it is just one game a year. It's something they agreed with them. So I don't understand it. I would have more. I would do more night games and more marquee matchups. And I definitely would not have a whiteout for a noon game. So, but that looks fun and intensified and crazy. And like I said, when it is the USC game this year, that's a game to watch. If you haven't seen it or you don't know what I'm talking about, go to YouTube and put in Penn State White Out. They have the crowd going, the music playing. They have Phil Collins playing. I can feel it coming. And man, it's just insane. And they come walking out. Like, if you ever walked out of a tunnel, for anybody who's watching this in any sport, and you walk out that tunnel, you feel that energy, and you feel the crowd, you see it all, and you take it in. And it's the auxiliary overload. It is. And I wish everybody could experience that just once in your life coming out to a situation like that. So it's fun in the crowd. It's a lot more funner on the field So that's the Penn State White Out, y'all. Now, it's going to be hard to knock off this one right here. And that's the one at the top of the screen. And that's a night game at LSU in Baton Rouge in the boot. Stadium holds 102,321. And a night game at LSU. They've been drinking all night. They eating their crawfish. They etouffee gumbo. Got the best food in the world in Louisiana. They do. So in a night game, now they play a lot of night games here. LSU, they love their night games. So since 1960, LSU has actually won 201 games, 59 losses, and 3 ties. Now, just that in itself, you're like, okay, that's about 70-some% win percentage. That was what I was expecting from White Out Penn State. Now, let me give you another number. Since 2000, and I wish I probably would have looked up the losses, they have 112 wins and 15 losses at night. Nicknamed Death Valley, where Les Miles said this is where championship dreams come to die. Mike the Tiger. I don't know if they still have him on the sideline anymore, but they used to have Mike the Tiger. They said in the cage that bars wasn't no bigger around than my pen in my hand, roaring at him as the opposing team comes out on the field. I mean, that is just insane. Bear Bryant went 14-2 against LSU in Baton Rouge. And he said it's the worst place for a visiting team. He said it's just like being inside of a drum. I mean, an earthquake. This stadium got so loud and crazy on a last-second touchdown score to beat Auburn 7-6. The crowd erupted so bad that it registered as a legit earthquake in Baton Rouge from the stadium, at Tiger Stadium, at the Louisiana Geological Survey Office. An earthquake, y'all. In 2007, number 1 LSU was playing number 9 Florida, and the stadium reached a record 130 decibels. 130 decibels, everybody, is compared to the sound of a jackhammer, just below a jet taking off. Think about how loud that is. This is the one thing I listened to Urban Meyer talk, and Urban Meyer used to always wear the double headset. Well, that game right there, it was. He said that's the only game when he was at the stadium that he took the headset off to hear the crowd. He said the crowd was so loud in that stadium, it made his pant legs move like the wind was blowing. That is insane. I cannot imagine what it must feel like to come out of that tunnel, hit that wind bar, come out and rush out in front of 102,000 crazy Cajun drunken fans and great fans as it is. And then, you know, that ayo, that one, the neck, they singing that, 102,000 people singing that, coming out in that crowd, exploding. Tyrann Mathieu told a story when he brought a punt return back against Arkansas. He said when he was running, he could feel the ground moving underneath him. He said the only thing he wanted to do was just make sure I don't trip and fall. The turf monster is real. In a night game in LSU, that stadium is crazy, and I cannot wait to go experience. We're going to have some decent seats. We're not going to be at the bottom. We're not going to be right about in the middle, about the 30-yard line for the A&M game. I hope it's a night game. I can't wait to experience. I want to love to do some tailgating, walking around, talking to everybody, have a drink or two with some people, have some good food. Oh, my goodness. And then go out to that stadium and see the lights cut. And then all the noises and the lights and all that going on. The band cranks up. Team comes running out. I mean, a night game in Baton Rouge, they tell me there's nothing like it. I can't wait to see it. I can't. And like I said, I don't think there's no wrong answer either way here. A night game at LSU, a white out at Penn State. I think if you're lucky enough to go to either one, I think you are going to be at a great game and a great atmosphere. Either way, both of them over 100,000 fans screaming loud, getting ready for celebrating and supporting their team. And then if they come out with the win afterwards, 100,000 people in the parking lot, leaving the stadium, celebrating, high-fiving, everything else. There's another probably 50, 60,000 out in the parking lot already. You got 250,000 people moving around the stadium, excited, happy, having a great time, hooting and hollering, music playing, high-fiving, screaming, celebrating, all kinds of stuff. Like, there's nothing like it. I mean, that's the college atmosphere right there. If anybody wants to know and anybody asks why is college better than any other sport, college football, and it's because of facilities and stadiums just like that. A night game at LSU. There's nothing in the NFL. I don't give a damn when nobody tells me that can compare to a night game at LSU or a whiteout at Penn State. There's no baseball game that can compare to that. There's no NBA game or college basketball game. Maybe Carolina Duke in Duke. Maybe. Maybe. I'm a Carolina fan. I ain't been to one of them yet, but I'll get there eventually. But there's nothing else. I mean, they've played 127 night games in 25 years. So there's nothing you can tell me that can compare to this over that longevity of time. There's nothing you can tell me where you get 100,000 people screaming like that in one arena for one common thing and one common team. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like that in any other sport. It's these two legendary coliseums is what makes our sport so great. And if you ever get a chance to experience it, you ever get a chance to go out to go do it, don't pass it up. Take it. Take that opportunity. Go check it out. See what it's all about. And these are just two. I'm just talking about who you got between these two. I mean, I ain't talking about the Big House, the Coliseum, Bryant-Denny Stadium, the Horseshoe, the Swamp. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on and on. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing else that compares to this. There isn't. So if you ever get a chance to get out on a Saturday and go to a college football game, go to it. Go to the game. Enjoy it. Soak it up. Enjoy the energy. I mean, it's just so much fun, and that's what makes our sport so much better than any other sport out there. I don't give a damn what nobody says, and I'll die on the hill on that. So, all right, so that's our who you got. Like I said, there's no wrong answer there. I'd love to know who you got. What do you think? Tell me some of your stories. Let me know some of your experiences that you've been there. Like I said, I haven't yet, and I can't wait to go. So tell me about your experiences and what you've had there, and who you got. Have you been to both? Who you got? Which one's actually better? I'm sure there's a lot of fans out there that has. So I would love to hear it from y'all. So just let me know. Another thing, like I said, while you're doing all that, don't forget, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Triple check now. Make sure that you're still with us. Make sure that you're following us. All right. So, all right. So next thing we got here, we're going to move on to our rivalry trophies. And I actually got 3 of them for y'all tonight. So here goes the first one we got right here. And this is the Kit Carton rifle, which is actually a really, really cool rifle. If you take a look at it, if you can see it on the screen. It's between Arizona and New Mexico. They actually played this for 68. They've actually had 68 meetings. And the trophy actually ran from 1938 to 1990. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is a Springfield model 1866 rifle that is also rumored to once been owned by Mr. Kit Carson. For those of y'all who don't know who Kit Carson is, he's a famous frontier surveyor from back in the day in the early 1900s, late 1800s. So this was rumored to be his rifle. And as you can see on there, they actually etched in every game the scores into the stock of the rifle they have. Now, like I said, they quit playing. They retired it in 1997. They did. Arizona actually leads this series 45-20 to 3 ties. 30 of those games have been decided by 1 point or less. So actually out of that, that's 68 games, 30 of them by 1 score or less. That's actually a really tight rivalry right there. It is. Now, Arizona's still in possession because they're the last one to win it once they retired it. And they retired it because of the violence towards Indians and stuff like that. They didn't think that it was good to continue to carry a weapon on like this because It sounds like Kit Carson might have been tied up in some stuff back in the early 1900s during the frontier times. So, believe it or not, in 1910, which, like I said, I have to go back and read these rules from the late 1800s, early 1900s. Arizona won the closest game that will ever be won that can actually be won. And Arizona beat New Mexico 1-0. Now, how they get to 1-0, I have no clue. Honestly and truly, I have no clue how you get to 1. But things were different back then in 1910. They scored differently. Extra points, field goals, punts, 3 downs. I mean, it's just wow. That's something that maybe we'll look into during the season, is going through and breaking down all the different rules and stuff and how they scored and all that back in the day in comparison to how they do now. They will. But like I said, that is a really cool trophy if you really take a look at it, to have the different scores in the years. Like they had the 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53. And then they etch in the scores onto it. And then the picture in the bottom is if you can see, is the full-size rifle. So like I said, that's a really cool trophy. It was something different, something odd, something I had never really seen before. I just happened to come across it. So I kind of like that one. I do. Like I said, sucks that they retired it and they still been playing. I mean, they met each other 68 times. Once again, this is another rivalry that we really like, that I would like to see the actual rivalry trophy come back. I mean, right now, Arizona has it sitting in the trophy room, which is probably where that picture was taken from. And they're going to own it forever because nobody's here to take it from them. And they retired it. So we'll see what happens with that. Maybe they can bring it back. All right. The next one we got here, which is another pretty interesting one, is the telephone trophy. Take a good look at that one, people. That is a rotary telephone. Now, for all us old heads, we know how to use one of them. This newer generation, I think they'd have a hard time with that. So this is actually a rotary trophy. Now, this has a crazy story as well. It's crazy how these trophies come about. So this is a match. This is given to the winner of the Iowa State-Missouri game. It is. Iowa State, the red on the one side, Missouri, the gold on the other side. Started in 1959. Missouri actually leads the series 61-34-9. They've met 104 times, these two teams have, as their old rivals all the way back in the time. And they played each other all the way up until 2011 when Missouri ended up moving to the SEC. So that kind of put a halt on it, which I think, hell, why not? Out of conference? Let's run it back, right? So so what ended up happening was, with this whole thing, in 1959, the games in Ames, Iowa, they had the phones like this, and sort of similar. It's crazy to think back 1959 and how they still do it today. As you watch a football game, they go over to the sideline, they pick that telephone up, and they start talking on to it, and they're talking to the coach up in the booth. Well, they did the same thing back in 1959. That's the one thing of all this technology that has not changed yet, believe it or not. So 1959, you went over, you picked up a phone. Well, come to find out, they're testing the phones before the games and everything. Make sure, hey, you got communication up there. Yeah. Well, come to find out, when they were testing the phones, both sides could hear each other. So if Iowa State is sitting there talking to their coaches upstairs, a Missouri coach can come over, pick the phone up, and he can hear everything that he's saying, and vice versa. Missouri could be on the phone talking to the D coordinator and be like, hey, man, what are you seeing over there? Iowa State said, hey, man, grab that phone. Pick up the phone. Yeah? Oh, shoot. Okay. Yeah, they're going to run this defense next time. So they could actually hear before the game each other's communication. Imagine what would happen in today's society, today's game, if you could do something like that, right? So amongst all this, they end up getting it fixed. They do. And it was it just happened to happen. Did it happen to happen? We don't know. this is college football, and a lot of stuff just happens to happen, right? And something else funny. So with all this happening, what ends up happening? Perfect opportunity to promote your brand, right? I mean, you have something funny like this, we'll say, happen. How can we do this? We gotta cash in on this. How we cash in on it? Now, I actually remember this telephone call. Now I'm gonna age myself and some of my other fellow old heads out there. Northwestern Bell. Who remembers Northwestern Bell? Because I think we had Southwestern Bell where I was. We did. So Northwestern Bell Telephone Company of Ames decided we're gonna make a trophy to commemorate this because this is hilarious, right? Who would have ever thought this would happen? So what they do? They cash in on it. Perfect promotional opportunity. We got to do something with this. Send it in. Why not? Make the trophy. Who created that? Northwestern Bell. When you think telephone, you think us. We got a trophy to prove it. We had Southwestern Bell where I was from. So a lot of my people, old heads around my age, they remember Southwestern Bell. So all this happens. They make a trophy. Everybody gets a good laugh at it. The whole thing passed. They get it fixed before the game, right? Next year they go to Missouri, right? They testing the phones. Tell me this. Same thing happened. Coincidence? I think not. Same thing, but this time it happens in Missouri. So this was one of the funniest ways and one of the wildest ways that the trophy actually came about. It was because of the systems with the telephones not communicating, double crossing lines. Like I said, was there anything to it? I doubt it, because it all ended up getting fixed before the game started. So it wasn't conniving or nothing like that. I think more of it was all in good spirit. Maybe the first time it was kind of, oh shoot, what happened? Probably plugged the wrong plug in the wrong plug or something like that. You know what I'm saying? It was probably a simple fix, common, simple mistake. When you go to Missouri and it happens, I think it's kind of like a little poke. Gotcha. You know what I'm saying? So I like it. I think it's a cool trophy. They haven't played since 2011. I think they ought to run it back. I do. We need to add some more dates and scores on top of that. We do. So I think it's going to be really interesting and a lot of fun. So, all right. Next one we got here, and this is one of my funnest ones, is the Platypus Trophy. Platypus Trophy is between Oregon and Oregon State. That is actually the Civil War, what they call it. Well, I don't know what they call it now. That's what it's called, right? So their first meeting was November 3rd, 1894. It was long time ago. And 132 years, this to be exact. So they actually played for this trophy from 1959 to 1961, and then it disappeared. It disappeared for 46 years and didn't reappear until 2007. It was lost for nearly 46 years. It was actually created by an art student in 1959 named William Spady. He actually created the trophy. This trophy right here is carved out of maple. All right. 2 foot wide, 18 inches tall. He chose the platypus because it has the tail of the beaver, Oregon State, and the bill of a duck, Oregon Ducks. So that's why he ended up picking it. So they played each other 129 times. Of course, like I said, not for the trophy that many times, but just in general. And when it ended up disappearing in 61, it kept getting stolen back and forth. So as soon as somebody went, the students from the other school would go steal it. It got stolen back and forth. And then it just disappeared. It did. So in 1986, Spady actually found the trophy. And 86, it had been missing for what? 25 years already since it disappeared? He found it. Spady found it. Where did he find it? At the Lighton Pool. The polo team was using this as the trophy between Oregon and Oregon State in water polo matches. And that's who ended up getting the trophy. Now, mind you, this is the football trophy. For water polo, they had nice little thing, 4 straight championships, back, beating Oregon State or whatever. And this was the trophy that they used, and they had it in their trophy case. So he tried to whatchamacallit, he tried to get it back from him. Nobody let him use it. They said, no, you can't use it. You can't. No, it's ours now. And they just claimed it, right? Now, this is the guy who actually made the trophy. They won't let him get back the trophy he made, right? So then in 2000, the pool and the trophy case is demolished. So at this point, they're like, dude, it's got to be gone. Like, this trophy's out. The trophy's got to be gone. You know what I'm saying? Where'd it go? Like, it was over here with the water polo thing. Now they're renovating. They demolished the trophy case and the pool area. Like, where'd it go? So in 2004, rolls around. Sports writer in Oregon says, you know what? It's really sad that we don't have a trophy for the Oregon State game for the Civil War. So Spade said, whoa, homie. There is one. And he's like, well, where is it? He said, I don't know where the hell it's at. I made it. And it's there. And the water polo team took it. And then next thing you know, they tore down the water polo area. And now I can't find my trophy. I made the trophy. There is a trophy for this game. Trust me, I did it. So it takes another year in 2005. Finally in 2005, they end up finding the trophy. They found it. You know where it was? It was in a closet where they played volleyball in MacArthur Court. This trophy ended up getting put in a closet in the volleyball court. And luckily somebody found it in 2005. And it still wasn't until 2007 when they started playing for it again. Now, if you can look at the picture, as you can tell, believe it or not, this trophy is actually unfinished because he never got to sculpt out the feet of the trophy. He didn't. So like I said, this was one of the craziest, weirdest trophies that I thought of, that I found. Was it wasn't that they didn't quit playing each other. They still kept playing each other. And it's kind of like the one with the Tri-State one that I talked about a couple of weeks ago. Trophy just disappeared. But then they was using it for a different sport. Try to tell the guy that it was theirs. He's the one that made it. Then they wouldn't let him use it. Then they tear down the building. Then they find it just hanging out in a closet, like a broom closet. And now it's back. And it's actually pretty cool looking. It is. So that's the whatchamacallit. That is the Platypus Trophy. So whenever you watch Oregon play Oregon State, be sure to check it out and watch till the end. And whenever who ends up winning actually gets that trophy right there. They do. So it's really interesting and really cool. Oregon has it right now. It's hanging out with them. Hopefully they don't put it in another closet and they keep it in the trophy case. And we don't have this happening over and over and over and over again. So with all that being said, that's pretty much going to wrap up the topics that I got for everybody tonight. And I had a couple things I wanted to touch on. So we have been working on some stuff behind the scenes, as I told y'all. And we've been getting in touch with a lot of different SIDs we have. So what we're working on is to get you all exclusive interviews with players, coaches, and stuff like that. So we've heard back from a decent amount of SIDs. There's still some more out there we're still waiting to hear back from, and we're planning on working on that as we go through the season, as the season prolongs, once camp starts and everything like that, to get y'all some special insight from our show, to where they tell you about what's going on in the program, some of the history, what their plans are, what they're looking forward to, and stuff like that. So we're working. That's what we've been working on this last week. 138 teams. That's a lot of research. That's a lot of emails. That's a lot of back and forth. That's a lot of communicating. So that's something we've really been working on behind the scenes this last week. So I can't wait to get started with that. So be sure to wait and look forward to that. Also, too, next month, we will be going to ACC Media Days once again. So we'll be able to ask some questions with the coaches and the players and do some interviews and everything else like that again, and get some good insight for y'all. We've really been looking forward to that and ready to do that again. So that's coming up in July, the middle of July. We'll be traveling to Charlotte and doing all that, all the while doing this. On Sunday, today is Monday. So we're not going to do a show on Wednesday. We're not. But on Sunday, we're starting our preview shows. We are. And we'll have our first preview show where we'll talk about the MAC, all the different teams in there, players to look forward to, talk about their schedules, how they still work with players getting poached and all that. And as it goes along, then we'll start dropping. We'll still have our 2 shows a week again. We just got to get ahead of the game. We fell a little behind this last week. So then we'll do all our different conferences. We'll have every conference breakdown and preview show. We'll also be recapping our media day shows. Once we're watching media days, we'll recap those for y'all. We're also going to do a show that Wednesday night in Charlotte. We'll leave here Tuesday to go to Charlotte, and it's the media day starts on Wednesday that day. And we'll be sure to do a show that evening for y'all live from Charlotte. We will probably from the hotel room, but we'll be sending y'all a show in Charlotte, and we'll be doing that as well. So we got a lot going on this off season. Once we get through all this, then we'll be in the season. We're less than 70 days away. We are, so we're on the down stretch, y'all. I mean, we just keep hanging in there, you know. This was kind of odd and different tonight. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Thank y'all for listening to me and hanging out with me while I'm doing this show by myself. Like I said, everybody had some prior engagements that they had to do, but I wanted to make sure that I got back out to y'all and got y'all something to listen to, get y'all some new content and everything else like that. I want to tell all the fathers out there, happy Father's Day, as that was yesterday. So everybody who was out there during Father's Day, I hope y'all had a wonderful day. We get one day a year. We get some socks and maybe some boxers and maybe a sandwich. So I hope everybody had a great Father's Day out there. Like I said, be sure to look out for what we got coming down the pipe. It's going to be a real fun, entertaining season this year, y'all. I appreciate everybody for riding with us, listening to us, support us. Like I said, please don't forget, like, subscribe, download, follow, retweet, hit the little heart button, do all that stuff, social media stuff and all that. Like I said, I don't know how it works. I'm a stone and chisel guy and I love football, and that's what I know how to talk about. So I just need y'all's help on that. So yeah, like I said, we'll have another show on Sunday. Hopefully the whole crew will be back. We'll do our MAC preview show then. We will be having shorts and everything coming through and throughout the days as we go along, leading up to our next show. And honestly, that's about all I have. I don't have nobody to send it over to, so I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up, and we'll see you on the next one.
Hey, college football Sunday with Steve, Matt, and Taz. Talking like we're legends in the student section stands. Same old couch, same cheap snacks, same old bets we never track. Yeah, life hits different when the squad comes back. College football Sunday with Steve, Matt, and Taz.